Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are thrilled to offer one of the first of its kind virtual, digital, and continuous learning environments in order to allow parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures in order for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we had a thought piece drop this past Sunday, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our content. If it is the case that you are out and about, you're on the go, then take us along with you. We are available on 10 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure. Now, as is the convention, definitely be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. So for those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental health. So before jumping into today's segment, I want to give you a few housekeeping items. We have launched our thematic calendar and I've given you a bird's eye view of the different themes that we will be discussing over the course of 2022. So we are very excited about the themes that we've put together. We've also put together all of the topics of discussion so you can pre-register at any point in time. If you're looking to attend any of these events, more details are available on our website. Definitely be sure to meander over, become a member of our website to take advantage of the sweet deals available with the membership, including unlimited access to our live events. But over and above the live events, we also plan on offering webinars and workshops to our members. And we couldn't be more excited about the growth and evolution of Project Purpose and the opportunity to offer in the facilitation of our live events the critical thinking, the life, and the soft skills required to derive more meaning and fulfillment out of life. So our live events will be taking place on our Facebook page. Be sure to meander over to our Facebook page and give us a follow. And we have package plans. So I think I mentioned that just very briefly, but please do make sure you take a look at our package plans if you do plan on interacting and engaging with our community on an ongoing basis. We have package plans for any level of commitment that you feel coincides with your current schedule. So take a look, because our live events are paid events, but you can get sweet discounts if you become a member, of course. So very excited about that growth and evolution. And now that that's taken care of and on your radar, let's jump into today's segment. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is part 2 of a 2-part series that we are doing on questions to ask as you're closing off the year. So the first part of this video was really about deriving lessons in hindsight. So we were asking questions that really helped us to extract the most that we could out of the experiences and events that took place over the latter part of this year. And now this second part of this video, we're more focusing on the different questions that we need to ask as we think about how we are going to orient ourselves for success as we embark on the 2022 journey. So same guardrails here. So I'm going to repeat some of the guardrails that I provided as it relates to the way that I wanted us to frame our responses to the questions and when we were asking ourselves questions in hindsight. So when we ask ourselves questions in foresight, the lens we choose is super important. So it's very important that we decide how we frame our role in the stories we hope to create and narrate as they unfold in the future. So as I mentioned in our first video, it's important that we make the choice to take on a survivor's lens, because anything that we've been through, we've lived through, if we are still standing, still breathing, and taking advantage of the opportunity to, make decisions on how we're going to orient ourselves for our own success. So when we think about that, we want to take on a victor's lens. So when we think about 2022, we can't look at it already defeated. We have to look at it from a lens where, we're excited, like we are going to seize the day. I think in Latin, carpe diem. We want to embody a carpe diem attitude as we think about the ways that we're going to approach and kind of take on 2022. I was going to say the word attack, but I felt like that word was a little bit too aggressive. So the way we take on 2022 is with a carpe diem frame of mind. So what does that mean? So for some of us, carpe diem, seize the day, it feels quite big. It feels like something that we aren't quite really sure how to even grasp if we are used to playing small. So I want you to play big as you think about the role that you are going to narrate for yourself in the unfolding of 2022. So the ways that we do that are simple. For one, you need to suspend disbelief. And I think I'm going to have multiple cards in this video reorienting you to different videos to give you a sense of how you do certain things, to give yourself the opportunity to set this tone accordingly for your success. When we think about the future, you don't want limiting beliefs to limit the way that you envision yourself showing up in the future. So you want to ensure that any values, beliefs that you have that have kept you playing small in the past, that you suspend those and you kind of put them in the rear view when you think about the way that you want to show up in the future. So this means that there are no limits to the dreams and how big the dreams are. You don't want to cap your dream with your sense of reality. And I say your sense of reality very intentionally because sometimes we create realities where we are already defeated. And I want you to make a note of that, because when you create a reality where you already see yourself defeated, then it defeats the purpose to future plan in a way that you're celebrating the year ahead, right? So we want to make sure that we put ourselves in a headspace where we see ourselves accomplishing the things we really in our heart want to accomplish. And we give ourselves the encouragement and we give ourselves the sense of hope and ability that we can accomplish those things. And we give ourselves permission to dream up the big dreams that seem out of reach. So again, suspend disbelief in this exercise. So before I jump into the questions, also your inner critic, this is an opportunity to silence your inner critic. And if you're not used to doing that, your inner critic is a voice in your head that you need to learn to shut off. That voice is not a voice that should be playing a dominant role as you think about the ways that you want to show up and you think about who you would like to become. So it's important that when you do future planning, that if your inner critic speaks up and tells you something that discourages you, that you tell it to silence itself, And I was going to say something a little bit more rude than that, but you silence the inner critic and you give yourself the space, the mental, emotional space to really dream big, to think big, and to get excited about how you see yourself showing up in the year to come. So what does this mean in translation? How does this translate? Well, for one, it means that when you do this exercise and when you kind of envision and you kind of step into the world of possibility, you refrain from tempering your ambitions. So a lot of us, we're very used to we have an ambition, but we are timid or we feel embarrassed about how big the ambition is because maybe we're used to having our dreams kicked down or we kick down our own dreams. But this is a space where you need to intentionally tell yourself, I'm not going to temper my ambitions to make them palatable to those around me, right? So you're not going to dilute your ambitions or temper them because people, situations, or circumstances are telling you that that is impossible. And let me tell you one thing about this word impossible and about the people who immediately just serve to discourage you and to cut you down for size. A lot of people will frame your ability within the limits of their own ability, right? So when someone says that they can't believe you can do something, they're really just projecting their own sense of inability onto you. So you need to take that into consideration. And it's important that if you're always telling someone something and they're always responding by discouraging you from accomplishing an ambition or a dream that you have in mind, that you need to think about, how you deprioritize and how you devalue that person's opinion, because you can't always be in the company of people who are discouraging you and who do not believe in your dreams. It's important to invest in relationships with people who motivate you, who push you forward, and who see you tapping into your potential. So even if they can't see what you see, they believe in your potential, they feed into your ambition, and they are cheerleaders. They support you. And if you don't have many of those, then that plays into some of the questions that we ask to set the stage for success for 2022. But the first one is the first guardrail, not the question, I haven't got into the questions yet, is we're not going to temper our ambitions to make them more palatable. Dream big. If your dreams don't scare you, I think this is a quote from Muhammad Ali that a friend had shared with me, and I really loved it. I think I actually had it as a cover page of my Facebook at one point. But if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Your dreams should scare you. You should have a little bit of a thrill of excitement when you think about the dreams that you have in mind, and then strive for them. See what the journey makes of you in trying to accomplish them. So that's the first guardrail. Kind of went a bit of a tangent, but it was a much needed tangent, because I find that a lot of people, when they step into this exercise, they limit their possibilities by present realities or by their sense of present reality, or they already are knocking themselves kind of off their game and they're psyching themselves out before they get started. And it's important that we do not, engage in that kind of behavior and those thought patterns as we step into this frame of mind where we're focusing on the possibilities. So the second guardrail is we're going to avoid discouraging ourselves by dressing our pessimism as pragmatic feedback. So I think a lot of us were very good at dressing our pessimism as the pragmatic sidekicks. We're like, well, reality dictates, or, based on these constraints. And, it sounds very intelligent. We sound very cerebral, but it's just pessimism. And I think the thing about pessimism is no one knows enough to be pessimistic about something that has yet to be pursued. And there has not been enough failures that one has accumulated, or even anyone can accumulate, to warrant pessimism. So I am someone, I do not value a pessimistic outlook whatsoever. I think that people who are pessimistic are just setting themselves up to stay within their comfort zone and to give themselves reasons and rationales to stay within their comfort zone, but then try to create an environment where anyone who steps outside of their comfort zone, it's a very hostile environment for those people, because they not only want to feel comfortable within their comfort zone, they don't want to feel the discomfort of seeing the people that are part of their comfort zone leave that comfort zone. So it's very hostile for anyone involved. But it's important that for those that you recognize dress up their pessimism as the pragmatic sidekick, you need to really either have open and honest conversations about what it is that they're doing and how they're self-destructing and self-sabotaging, but also how that's leaking off into your own dreams and ambitions and to your own desires to pursue your dreams and ambitions. And you need to not do it to yourself, not dress up your pessimism as the pragmatic sidekick, and not tolerate that kind of engagement, feedback, and discussion from the people around you. The third guardrail is dream first, reality comes second. So it's very important that when you give yourself an opportunity to really envision a reality that excites you, that ignites you, that you would love to put your energy into creating, that you don't think about the how just yet. When you have enough of a sensory experience around your dream, you figure out the how later. But when you're dreaming, don't let the how interfere with the dream. Let the dream get as big and as bold as it needs to for you to reorient naturally towards the things, the people, and the experiences that you're going to need to interact with for that dream to manifest itself. So it's important that you dream first, dream boldly, dream loudly, dream as unrealistically as you would like to, and know that the how will follow. The ingenuity comes first from the creativity stimulated by the dream. So don't limit the creativity with reality. Creativity comes first, ingenuity comes second. And that allows you to interact and to engage with your reality in such a way where you're building reality, you're building the gap between reality and your dream. And anyone who has accomplished any monumental milestone has been able to bridge the gap between creativity and reality with ingenuity by first not allowing reality to impede on the size and the boldness and the color of the dream. So that's Very, very important. So 4, I guess, leads into 3, which is no limits. There are no limits to this thought exploration that we're going to be doing. We're stepping into imaginative wonder. We're going to create worlds that are not constrained by present realities, because remember, our present realities are a byproduct of everyone else who have stepped into possibility and created what we have normalized, right? A lot of what we've normalized 100 years ago did not exist. So keep that in mind. And when you're dealing with a pragmatic sidekick, like, make sure you throw that into the pragmatic sidekick's face. I mean, I'm sure that the people who thought the world was square, and that was pretty much the majority of the population, who actually like went out of their way to physically harm people who were trying to postulate that, you know, the world is round. They felt pretty foolish by the time that the truth came out. So recognize that there are different instances of that at every point in time. People who are too anchored on the reality of right now have a hard time being future focused, have a hard time seeing a vision. So it's important that you step into imaginative wonder and you don't allow present realities to hinder that imaginative wonder, because reality is not just what it is, it's created, and it's something that we can continue to build and evolve on for time and time to come. All right, so that was lots of preamble, but lots of just, I guess, framing for you to do as you embark on this exercise. I don't know how frequently people do this, or, you know, how many people psych themselves out as they start, so I thought it was important to set the tone first before providing you with the questions, as we think foresight, as we think ahead, and as we envision the future that we would like ahead and creating for ourselves and for others. And I think that is really interesting, because a lot of people have complaints about millennials being, you know, these people who want to create meaning and who want impact, and then, you know, employers try to create meaning and impact at work, not recognizing that you can't give someone meaning and impact. Meaning and impact are things we create for ourselves. The only way it feels meaningful, the only way we feel impactful, is if we are the ones to create that from start to finish. So it's not something anyone can pay you to do. It's not something anyone can craft for you. It's something that we do on our own for ourselves. We have to be the ones to think it up and to bring it into reality. And I think that that's sort of the missing piece. You can't package meaning and then give it to someone. You can't package impact and then give it to someone. It's something that comes from within and then becomes external as we manifest it with our time, energy, and focus. So that's a point that I like to make, because I think that there's so much criticism by way of millennials and our desire for consciousness and our desire for impact. And I think we need to recognize that desire always comes from a place of ability. Like, whatever it is you desire, you have the ability to create that and manifest that in reality. And you don't need someone to hand you meaning. You don't need someone to hand you impact. These are things that you can create. But if you need to cultivate the skills to get there, then by all means, like, we're here to provide you the skill set so that you can bring meaning and impact into your reality. But know that that is a baton no one can hand you. That is a baton that you build and that you craft and that evolves from your own sort of frame of thinking. So anyways, all of that to say, let's dig into our questions. And when we're introspecting, we don't give ourselves a time limit. Like, these questions, you could answer them in a day. It could take a week. It could take 2 weeks before you feel like you have a complete answer. So I like to write the questions out and write out my answers as they come to me, right? So I always just assume that the first thing that comes to mind is just the partial response. And I need to spend just a little bit more time thinking it over before I feel like I have crafted the complete response to this question. So these are very deep, very introspective, and give yourself the time, the space to answer them and set the stage. I like to create a bit of a mood when I ask myself introspective questions. Sometimes this involves music, maybe, some essential oils, maybe some wine, whatever the case might be. Make it a mood, make it like an ambience, and then dig into the questions. So the first question to ask yourself is, in what ways can I leverage the learning that I have derived from 2021 to reorient myself for 2022? And it's important because we've already done the hindsight exercise. We have a sense of the lessons that we've learned from 2021, but for those lessons to have any value to us, they need to be embedded in the way that we show up differently in 2022. So I think that it's important that we think to ourselves, well, how can I maximize on what I've learned, on what I've experienced, and the things that have taken place in my life this past year by allowing them to reorient me in a positive way and with intention. So sometimes what happens is we accidentally or haphazardly allow ourselves to be impacted by our experiences negatively. Because we lack that intentionality, we find ourselves sort of snowballing, right? We are reoriented, but because that intention isn't there, it's maybe not in our best interest. When we take hold of those experiences and the way that they have impacted us and the way that they have shifted and changed us, and we decide for ourselves, well, how am I going to show up differently as a byproduct of this because of how we would like to show up differently? And now we take that control in hand and we show up with the intention of showing up the way that we want to based on the things that we've experienced in the past. So I think this is really important. And this question takes some time. It takes some time because there's so many lessons that you've learned in a 12-month period. And especially if you've had a crazy year, and all of us have had crazy years for different reasons, but recognize that everything is a nugget of value that you can leverage to show up leveling up from what you've experienced and what you've potentially endured in the last 12 months. So that's the first question I want you to ask yourself. So the second question that you want to ask yourself as you think forward focus for 2022 is, what changes do I want for myself? And even maybe sometimes for some of you, for my family in 2022. And sometimes we don't want to ask ourselves this question because it's scary. The things that we want for ourselves, it can be intimidating to even voice them out loud. So it's important that I tell you, don't be timid, be bold, put it on paper, and then make it a reality. No matter how far removed it is from your current present state now, you're never going to get any closer to it until you make it a goal. And even if you don't accomplish it by the end of 2022, if you make it a goal, you'll be closer to it. And that is everything. Giving yourself an opportunity to get closer to the desired state that you have created in your own mind is everything. And at some point you will get there. Trust and believe it to be true. The third question, and this is also a question that people like to avoid for whatever reason, but it's an important question that you ask yourself, and you ask yourself this question knowing that you have to give an answer. So the answer can't be an all or nothing answer. It can't be like, one of those answers where it's like a get out of jail free card answer. You need to have key responses for both sides of this question. And the question is, what energy do I welcome to continue my journey into 2022? When we think about energy, we think about what people, what places, what experiences am I going to allow to continue to influence by becoming in 2022, and what people, places, and experiences they end with 2021. And this is something that we sometimes don't like to think about because we know what relationships really shouldn't be carried into another year. We know what experiences shouldn't be carried into another year, what settings, places, so on and so forth. But this is the time to do that. We don't want to start 2022 or any new year with baggage. This is the time and space where you call out the baggage for what it is, and then you make the moves that you need to make to ensure that you're starting the year cleared of that baggage. And baggage has this quality where it's sticky. It has a stickiness to it. It wants to follow you everywhere. It's like a barnacle. But you need to do what you need to do to get that barnacle off your back and continue your year with a lighter load. You know what I'm saying? And it involves reinvention and it involves bravery and courage, but it's well worth it. Like, why carry baggage into another year when you can let it go? And if it has a stickiness effect, well, do what you need to do to get rid of that barnacle so you can start the year feeling lighter and freer and more agile and able to really manifest the life that you're looking to create in this new year to come. So the fourth question that I want you to ask yourself, and this is really important, and this is based on the lessons that you learned perhaps as a byproduct of how you've needed to show up in different spaces and environments where you weren't quite prepared, but you kind of did the best that you could. But with that learning, how do you want to show up for yourself in 2022 that is different from how you've shown up for yourself in 2021? And I think this is such a key question because it's an opportunity for you to make commitments to yourself of how you're going to show up, supporting yourself, celebrating yourself, defending yourself, whatever the case might be, depending on how 2021 informs your answers. But you're going to make those commitments prima facie. You're going to make those commitments out of the gate, knowing that you're entering 22, recognizing how you're going to show up differently if those same situations and experiences try to present themselves. You're going to be a leveled up version of yourself in the way that you respond now that you have, hindsight feeding into how you're going to deal with those experiences moving forward. The fifth question to ask yourself as you do your foresight and your future thinking for 2022 is, what and who would you like to influence your becoming in this new year? And this can be in any context or setting, but you can decide if I'm letting energy go, what kind of energy, whether it's a person, place, or experience, do I want to feed into my becoming in 2022? And how do I orient myself or set myself up for success and having that energy contribute to my becoming? And, in what capacity as well? So I think these are really important questions to ask yourself. And again, when you answer these questions, don't answer these questions within the limits of your present reality, because reality is created. And the moment that you put it to paper, you're beginning to reorient orient yourself in such a way where you're going to put yourself in different scenarios and situations, or kind of stretch out, reach out to different people and give yourself the opportunity to create the reality that you know like best suits the trajectory of evolution that you're looking for. And the last question to pose yourself as you close off 2021, looking ahead at 2022, is what aspects of my comfort zone have I outgrown in 2021? And this is also a hard question to ask ourselves, because we don't necessarily question when complacency takes over in our lives. We don't necessarily have a problem with it because it's comfortable. And when we ask ourselves the question, we have to be honest with yourself at what areas of our life have we become complacent and that need a little bit of, invigorating, that need a little bit of ignition and shifts and changes to build into the growth and the evolution that we're looking for as we think about who we are going to become and how we want to influence our becoming in 2022. So those are the 6 questions. They are deep. You will go deep with these questions, I promise you. If you're looking for like a little bit more by way of frameworks or guardrails, I'm always here to support you. And of course, you have the community forum. You can leave a comment, but you can message me directly for sure as well. And these are personal. I think knowing that, you can be very vulnerable with yourself. They're very personal. You don't need to share them with anyone. This is just for you so that you have a real bird's eye view on how you want to show up in this next year, and you can get excited about how you want to show up this year, and you can think about the orientation that you need to accomplish, the resolutions that you want to accomplish in this next year. There's a lot to be excited about. All to say, that is this segment. I am so happy that you've made it to the end of this video. I hope that you've learned something new, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's video. We'll talk to you soon.